What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Dynasty Coaches podcast. I'm your host, as always, Coach Dylan, along with Coach Charlie. Coach Nick is not going to be with us this week. We'll have him back next week. So we got a good show for you again. We're going to go through just one news item, and then I got a game for us to play. It's called Guess That Player. I'm going to give you five stats. You can take a guess on each hint that I give you. And then see if you can get it, and then we'll talk about that player. And then we're going to talk about how much age influences our opinion on trades and dynasty startups. And then we're going to also talk about how much a player coming off of a season-ending injury impacts your decisions. And then I got 3 more trades for you, so we'll do that also. So let's go and get right into it. Really, the only news item is Rob Gronkowski retires again. Do you think he's gone this time, or if the Bucs are making a run at the Super Bowl, do you think that he'll be back?
Yeah, I mean, we can't really rule anything out. I mean, especially even on Twitter, Gronk said he'd come back if Brady gave him a call. Because those two have had such a close relationship over the years, dating back to the days in New England. So
Yep.
I think anything's possible. But for now, he's out of the game. And this really opens things up for Cameron Bray. Plus, let's not forget they drafted Cade Otton, I believe, in the 3rd round, which isn't insignificant. So we could see a lot of opportunities for both of those guys.
Yeah, that was my next question, was which one do you think steps up? I mean, Brady's got the rapport and the trust of Brady.
Yeah.
So my guess is him, but this Cade
Otton, I would put my money on that as well. So I agree completely.
Yeah, Brady seems to that takes a little bit to gain his trust. So as a receiver, so that's really the only news and note that we have here. So let's go ahead and get into Guess That Player. All right, so I'll give you what position it is. The first one's going to be a wide receiver. Okay, so the first hint here, he's received 140 plus targets in 2 of 3 career years. Take a guess.
Been there for 3 years. I think about 30-year receivers. And really put me on my game here, meaning. Jeez.
I'll give you the next one here.
Yeah.
He's a new quarterback in 2022.
He's a new quarterback. Okay. Deontay Johnson?
There you go. Good guess.
Okay.
My other three hints would have been had 1,000 yards for the first time in his career last year. Team location starts with a P, so I think you probably got that one. And then had a future Hall of Fame quarterback in the previous years. So,
okay.
But let's go ahead and talk about him. Even with mediocre play from Roethlisberger the last couple of years, Johnson has been a target hog and pretty much a fantasy stud. I know that the knock is he's not going to get as many targets, but I mean, why can't he get as many targets? I mean, Deontay Johnson or Chase Claypool, we know what he is. Kind of, he struggled in his sophomore year. Najee has been rumored to be taking a step back a little bit, so he's not getting hurt. And George Pickens is a rookie; he might struggle. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the downgrade in QB isn't really as significant, or it may not even be significant at all, considering, for the last year or two, he basically had the rotting corpse of Big Ben under center.
Mm-hmm.
So having, Kenny Pickett or Mitchell Trubisky, whoever ends up, ending up under center, isn't really as big of a deal as people might make it out to be. Kind of like I said this before on the podcast, it's kind of like an Allen Robinson thing where the player can succeed regardless of the player under center. So I think Deontay Johnson is kind of in that same boat where no matter who ends up being the quarterback to start the year throughout the whole year for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Deontay Johnson is going to get his.
I agree. I think, he's clearly the number one. I don't think Pickens or Claypool has a chance to challenge him for that number one spot. I just think that's who he is. I think that he's somebody that gets open and commands a lot of targets, and I mean, I think that either whoever it is, Trubisky or Pickett, is going to kind of lean on him to because he's proven he can do it. He's proven he can be that stud, the reliable target that you can just pepper with targets all year long. So, not to mention Juju Smith-Schuster and James Washington are gone also. So
Right.
there's quite a bit of targets to be made up in Pittsburgh. So let's go ahead and move on here. My next guy is another wide receiver. Okay.
All right.
Has received 130 plus targets only 3 of his 6 careers.
6. Okay. Yep.
He's on a new team this year.
Okay, on the new team.
He has topped 1,000 yards in 4 of his 6 seasons.
Topped 1,000. It's on a new team this year. I always overthink these.
He's been a number 1 overall receiver.
He has?
Yeah.
Can't be Adams, can it?
No. And he had 267 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns in his rookie year.
Oh, Tyreek?
Yeah, Tyreek Hill. Hill, he's been a top 5 wide receiver twice in his career with 140 or less targets. And then a top 10 receiver with 105 targets. Right now, the big complaint is he's got a downgrade at quarterback from Mahomes to Tua, which is a valid complaint. Wide receivers switching teams don't have a great first years with their new team. And Jalen Waddle is there to share targets with. But I mean, we've seen a lot of receivers struggle their first year, but usually the ones that are your legit stars in the league don't take that long. I mean, prime example is Stephon Diggs whenever he went to Buffalo from Minnesota. I mean, he had an unbelievable year in his first year in Buffalo. So, what's your thoughts on Tyreek? Do you think he struggles, or can he still be that top 5 wide receiver?
I think he's going to get knocked down by just a smidge. I think he's going to be top 10, probably top 8. But I think that being in a new home, there will be a little bit of adjustment with Tua. Mm-hmm. And plus having, he hasn't played with a weapon like Jalen Waddle before. Another serious dynamic wide receiver that other teams have to account for. So it's going to be a little bit of a different situation. The targets might be spread a little more.
Yeah, but he had
Dolphins also have Gesicki,
He had Kelsey.
Right, but I don't know. I just think that it's more the adjustment than anything else. Being on a new team, how he's going to face that. And then plus, obviously, Tua's not Patrick Mahomes. So I think the big one is just the downgrading QB play more than anything else. But obviously, he obviously had Kelsey, but he never had another co-star at the wide receiver position for him to compete with.
Yeah, I mean, this tweet right here says it all for me. I think the stars kind of it doesn't matter with the QB as much if you're a star player, because I mean, like the tweet says, Tyreek Hill is a wide receiver 8 in 2017 with Alex Smith as his quarterback. So I mean, Alex Smith was decent, but was Alex Smith better than Tua?
I mean, it's a valid point.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I just think that the stars, your true star players, doesn't matter as much. I mean, a new QB for, I don't know, Trying to think of QBs switching teams here. I can't think of a good one, but right now I don't know. Just I think the stars like Devontae Adams going from Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr. I don't think that it's going to affect him that much because I think Adams is just that elite player. So we'll go ahead and move on though. Next one is a running back.
Okay.
He was injured in his first 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Never topped 700 rushing yards in a season yet.
Okay. First 2 seasons, he hasn't gotten over 700 yards.
He has 135 targets in 2 seasons, total targets.
Total targets.
He scored 10 total touchdowns in his rookie season.
I'm trying to remember what year he was drafted. Was this Michael Carter?
No. And then, he's been injured in his first 2 seasons.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
And he's on an underwhelming offensive team.
Underwhelming offense. Oh, geez, that could describe a lot of teams.
I'm going to give it to you.
God damn. I'm going to pinch myself when you tell me.
DAndre Swift.
Oh my God. Yep. Exactly.
So he, in his first 2 seasons, he had 521 rushing yards in his rookie year, and then 617 in his sophomore year. Everybody is projecting him to be a top 5 dynasty running back. But he's proven he can't stay healthy, and the offense is not great. I mean, can they sustain a top 5 back in the league?
I mean, the Lions have one of the better offensive lines in football.
Yeah.
So that's never really out of the question. And Swift's been able to get his when he's on the field. Health is just that primary concern.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he gets into the end zone, 10 total touchdowns despite being hurt in his first season as a starter in the NFL. So he's clearly got the nose for the end zone as well. You put all those together and you get an RB1.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as he stays on the field this year, and especially combined with the fact that he's only, I think, 23 or 24, he's still got his prime ahead of him. So I get the recipes there. It's just a matter of whether you leave it in the oven too long.
Yeah. So I got 3 stats here on other running backs. Cordero Patterson last year in Atlanta, he was a top 10 running back on the 29th ranked offense. Najee Harris was a top 5 running back on the 23rd ranked offense. And then Antonio Gibson was a top 10 running back off of the 21st ranked offense. So it's possible for running backs to do it. That's going to be his biggest thing is can he stay healthy? Like you said, I mean, the offense should be a lot better with the addition of Jameson Williams, DJ Chark, plus getting Hawkinson back. So, but that's his thing is he's got to stay healthy. If he doesn't stay healthy, I mean, it's not going to work. And we've seen way too much of their backup.
Jamal Williams
the last 2 years. So I think Swift has got the ability. I mean, there's no question he's one of the most talented running backs in the league. It's just a matter of staying on the field to show it.
Exactly.
So let's go and move on here. It will be a tight end.
Great.
He has never had double-digit touchdowns. Has had over 100 targets in 6 of his 9 seasons.
9 seasons.
No. He's only had 1,000 receiving yards in 1 of 9 seasons.
Okay.
He will be 31 at the start of the season.
Oh, is this Ertz?
Yep. So, I mean, he switched teams and was damn near unstoppable whenever he got to the Cardinals. He had 7.4 targets per game after joining joining the Cardinals. You got Hopkins suspended for the first 6 games. You have between Christian Kirk and there's somebody else in there.
Was it Isabella who left? Andy Isabella?
Andy Isabella, you have 156 vacated targets. Is this something where when Hopkins comes back, he's going to kind of fade? Or is this something where he can sustain? I mean, he was very good whenever he switched from Philadelphia to Arizona last year.
I mean, like you said, 156 vacated targets is a lot to soak up, and they're going to have to go to somebody. And Zach Ertz, I think, could be the beneficiary even more of some of those. And like you said, with Hopkins suspended for the first 6 games of the season, there's even more of an opportunity, which I think basically pencils in Zach Ertz as a bona fide tight end 1 to at least begin the season, because besides Hollywood Brown, they're not going to have too much around Kyler Murray in terms of weapons. So I feel like that's kind of easy to plug him in there. And even when Hopkins comes back, Zach Ertz is shown that he's kind of that third and short safety blanket option for Kyler Murray if he needs to get a key first down, and he fills that role really well. But it's going to be interesting to see how much usage Trey McBride gets, because he was a second-round pick.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if they kind of fade him in or if they just drafted him, because usually the third year is the breakout year for the tight ends. So that will be the year that I believe Ertz signed a 3-year contract with him. So that'll be the year that Ertz's final year. But I guess my question here is, can Murray sustain 3 top weapons? And if you don't think so, then we know DeAndre Hopkins isn't going to be one that takes the hit. Who's going to take the hit, Ertz or Marquise Brown?
Right. And I think at that point it would probably be Ertz.
Yeah. So this may be something where you draft him to be your tight end for the first 6-7 weeks, and then once try to trade him at his peak while Hopkins is away, knowing that he's probably going to take that hit once Hopkins gets back. So moving on to our final one here, it will be another wide receiver. Has been a top 20 wide receiver in every season of his career. Has had 1,000+ yards in every season of his career.
Is it Diggs?
Nope. Has had 8+ touchdowns in all but 2 seasons of his career and hit double digits 4 times.
Okay.
Well, this one's going to give it away here, but finished as a top 10 wide receiver in each of his last 2 seasons.
Each of his last 2 top 10. Oh, Jefferson?
No. Currently has a Hall of Fame quarterback, the GOAT.
Oh, Mike Evans. Why didn't I think Mike Evans off the
Mike
bat?
Evans, yeah.
God damn it. All right, okay.
So, I mean, all those things I just said, I mean, he's been a top 20 wide receiver every season of his career. He's going to be 29, so he's at the point where people start saying, uh-oh. But there's a lot of targets going around in Tampa Bay. Gronk's retired now, like we said previously. Godwin's probably not looking great to be starting the season. Antonio Brown is now gone. Mike Evans is looking like the only viable target in Tampa Bay, and he's got Brady's trust. Are we looking at? Does he have number one wide receiver overall potential here?
With Brady under center, you can't rule anything out.
Yeah.
And besides Russell Gage, who they did bring in this offseason, there's not going to be a lot else in terms of target competition, like you said, from Mike Evans. And he's been consistently good. I think, underrated a bit as well by kind of the fantasy community and just the NFL in general, because he's always been putting up good numbers, even, when Brady wasn't around, when you had guys like Jameis under center. So wide receiver 1 season incoming for Mike Evans, and I think he could be a top 5 wide receiver at the end of the year.
Think he's got higher upside than Justin Jefferson with Kirk Cousins?
I think Justin Jefferson is way more of a talented wide receiver, though. So I think that kind of makes up the difference.
I agree. If you're drafting right now, do you take Devontae Adams or Mike Evans?
I would still take Adams.
You take Adams over him?
I would.
Mm-hmm. All right, yeah. I mean, there's so many targets to go around, and who knows how Godwin's going to come back from this injury. So everything's usually wide receivers are pretty good, but I mean, who's to say he's going to come back better than he was, or even the same person he was? So we'll see. Hopefully he does, and there's a little bit. I hope it doesn't get to the point where it's Mike Evans is getting double teamed, triple teamed every single game, and
that would not be good.
Yeah, because then I think I remember something about Evans struggling whenever he's double teamed, and I mean obviously, but like huge difference whenever he's double teamed. He can't beat that double team. So,
okay.
Hopefully that doesn't happen, and we can see a big year from Mike Evans here. So, that is it for the game. You did pretty good. You got what, 3 of them?
Yeah,
3 of them on it. So
3.
That's pretty good, man. So, let's go and move on to our next question here. How much does age affect a dynasty for you? Right now, the age fall off, it's 40 years old for a QB. They're usually pretty good up to the 40s. Running back, 26, 27 is whenever they start falling off. Wide receivers, 32 for the really good ones. And then tight ends, like we said on previous episodes, talk about Kelsey, 32 years old. Are we fading guys like Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Zach Ertz, those guys in startups, or is it going to be something where you're gonna still take these guys because it's still probably going to give you another 2 or 3 years of solid production?
Yeah, I mean, it also depends on the direction you want to take your team in. If you're doing if you're starting up a dynasty, if you want to build a team that is going to come in right away, put up numbers, and produce for a couple of years before they fall off, then you're going to absolutely not take age into consideration as much. Like we just talked about Mike Evans, we know Mike Evans is going to be able to do this year. Mike Evans has been incredibly consistent, and with Brady for as long as Brady is under center, we know what Mike Evans is going to do. So I think for the next couple of years, as long as Brady sticks around, Mike Evans will be a wide receiver 1. And it's the same thing with Keenan Allen, having Justin Herbert, and Keenan Allen's one of the more crisp route runners out there, and he has a nose to the end zone as well. He's always been good. Tyreek Hill is Tyreek Hill. Devontae Adams is Devontae Adams. So I think wide receiver is less of a problem as you get a little older. As for running back, a guy like Kareem Hunt, that's kind of a weird situation for him in Cleveland, so he's the guy I'm fading. Yeah, you got Nick Chubb there, who, I mean, I just wish the Browns would give Nick Chubb all the run in the world, but they love using their secondary running backs, and it makes me mad. But the wall for the chart says it all. The wall for running backs just hits a lot sooner because they put a lot more wear and tear on their bodies than some of the other positions in the league. So when you get to your age 27 season, guys like Zeke, guys like Kareem Hunt who are approaching that barrier, you have to wonder just how effective they're going to be because they're on paper kind of approaching the end of their prime.
Do you take that into consideration in trades? I mean,
absolutely.
You got guys like Mike Evans. I mean, is he a sell just because he's nearing that age, or are you willing to give him another year or two on your team and then try to sell him if he gets past that age, but he's still being productive? Or what's your thought process?
I think for Mike Evans at this case, I think he's a prime example of a sell high because he's going to be essentially the only weapon for a chunk of the season for Tampa, depending on however long Chris Godwin's going to be out for. So that the volume of targets alone with Brady under center, what you should be getting with Mike Evans, and so you can sell people on that pretty easily. And plus, he hasn't hit 38; he's still only 29, so he's going to have a couple more good years left in him, as I said earlier. So I think it makes the most sense to sell him unless you're making a push for the playoffs, or if you're getting something of equal value in return to help your team. So again, if you're trying to get younger, he's a great sell high. But if in any other instance, I would hold on to him because he's still a very, very good player.
Say guys like a Zach Ertz, are you willing to take a little bit less than what you could possibly get just to get him off your team so he doesn't die on your team? Or are you still looking to get what he's worth out of it? Say somebody comes up and offers you like a young rookie wide receiver and a pick. I mean, a young rookie tight end and a pick. Are you willing to get rid of him for that? Or
see, that'd be something I'm actually willing to consider.
Okay.
Like if I was offered a decent pick and say like Trey McBride for Zach Ertz, basically his successor, that'd be something I'm willing to entertain. I could just plug in another option at tight end, and then whenever Zach Ertz is gone, I have the next guy in line, and then plus I have a draft pick that I could plug into wherever I see fit. Whether I want to keep that pick or trade that pick. So I don't like letting players die. Not die, but you know what I mean. I don't like letting players seasons, careers end on my team. I want to offload as at approximately the right time and get as much value as possible. I've made a lot of trades involving Travis Kelce this year. Where Travis Kelce is still really good, so I can get really good value for him. And then whoever gets him can enjoy however many years Travis Kelce has left. But I can relax knowing I got a good deal for him, and without having to worry about him, wasting away on my team when he falls off.
Yeah, it's hard because I agree with that. I agree with everything like that, what you just said. But then a guy like Kelce, I mean, if he falls off, but he won me a championship this year, and he falls off next year, I mean, yeah, it sucks that he's still on my team and I can't get him off my team. He kind of his career ended on my team, but he did get me a Super Bowl. So, I mean, if I come across somebody that's willing to give me what he's worth, or possibly even a little bit more, then yeah, he's gonna get off. But I don't know if I'm a contender. I don't know if I'm actively looking to sell him.
And again, it's just like you said right there. It's all about situation. If you're contending, Travis Kelce is going to be way more valuable to you than someone who's looking to rebuild.
Yep.
So it's all about the situation that you find your team and your roster to be in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you're contending, it's almost the point. It's kind of reversed where if you're contending, you may buy those guys that are a little bit older that maybe only have another year or two, but are still at top peak performance, and sell off a lot of your youth. Whereas if you're rebuilding, you're going to be trying to get as much youth as you can, selling off those guys that maybe only have a year or two left. So, but all right, let's go ahead and move on to our next part here. Fading injured players the year after injury in Dynasty. We've seen it with Saquon Barkley for sure. We've seen it with like Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, Michael Gallup. They're starting to fade a little bit. But we have seen some players, a lot of players come back and be pretty successful. Prescott came back from an ankle injury in 2020, finishes QB7. Dalvin Cook, 2017, finished as an RB6 the next year. Or 2 years later, Cooper Kupp, we all know what happened this year with him. And then Gronk, I mean, he had a season-ending injury back in 2013, and he had a ton of very, very productive years. I think he finished as tight end 1 like 3 or 4 times after that. So, I mean, how far in Dynasty are you fading these players?
I think I'm taking a discount, but I'm not willing to let them, take a free fall.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are a lot. I've been seeing a lot of tweets and just stuff, from analysts who are fading my Saquon Barkley of like the 3rd round, which I think is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because, the talent and coming back off an injury, which I grant you is, with the injury history of Barkley, but it's, it was an injury that wasn't affecting his, his talent, like his game-breaking ability, the way he makes people miss. It was kind of a fluke injury in that game against the Cowboys. So, you have to kind of take into extent the circumstances, the type of injury, the talent of the player, what they've done in the past. So, if I can get, like, Saquon Barkley in the 2nd round, I'd be jumping for joy because that's a guy who can be an RB1, and I'm getting him, in the 2nd round. It's not what you expect to see. Same thing with a lot of these other guys that come back from injury. It depends on, what they hurt. Is that something that could sap their playmaking ability? Are they going to be out for a period of time this season? Are there any significant changes under center or, the weapons around them? There's a lot of different factors you have to, take into play.
Yeah, I think this kind of depends on where you're at, what direction you're going, if you're a contender or not, too. Because, so I did a little bit of research this week, and I found out since, so I looked at 51 total QBs, wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends, just 51 total. And out of the 51, 6 of them were rookies whenever they got hurt for their season injuries. Sorry, let me back up here. So I looked at 51 players who had season-ending injuries at once in their career. Okay, 6 of them were rookies whenever that happened. Out of the other 45, only 15 of them finished better in fantasy in the next in one of the next 3 years following that injury. 4 QBs, 5 running backs, 4 wide receivers, and 2 tight ends. So looking at that, I think in a redraft or if I'm contending, I'm probably going to stay away from these guys just because, I mean, it takes them a year or two to get back to the way they were. But if I'm sitting in Dynasty and I'm rebuilding and I can afford to wait that year or two, I mean, these guys, you're getting a lot of these guys at a huge discount right now. So, I mean, Travis Etienne, we haven't ever even seen him play a snap, and you're getting him for next to nothing right now. So, it's definitely something that you can take a look at. Like I said, don't do it if you're in a you're competing for a championship, but it's definitely something to look at if you're trying to rebuild your team. So, all right, let's go ahead and do our last part here. What the hell? Our trade segment here. Best part of the show. All right. Thoughts on this trade that got approved? 1 QB, PPR, 12-team league. D. Johnson is Deontay Johnson. So you get Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. For Deontay Johnson, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, Mike Pittman, Van Jefferson, 2022 first, 2022 second, 2023 the first, 2023 second, 2024 first, 2024 second.
I'll happily collect those picks and players and be on my merry way. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Sweet Jesus. We talked about Kelce before. I'm happy to, offload him before he hits the wall. We know what Patrick Mahomes can do, but you're getting a QB who's almost as good. It's not much of a downgrade. Joe Burrow is very, very talented. Deontay Johnson, wide receiver 1, Michael Pittman, at least a wide receiver 2. You get a couple dart throws in Love and Jefferson, nothing wrong with that. And then you get 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks. It's quite a haul. Give me that every day of the week. Talk about that's an overpay for that Chiefs stack.
Yes. There needs to be more laugh emojis in the bottom left-hand corner of this screen here.
Yes, there does.
Whoever got Mahomes just got fleeced.
Yeah, I hope you sleep well at night after that one, pal.
Yes, big time. I mean, like you said, Joe Burrow is probably dynasty quarterback 4, 5.
Yeah, I mean, after Allen, after Mahomes, after Herbert, I mean, it's kind of, you toss up between him and Lamar, honestly. So QB4 or QB5.
Yeah. So you're going from QB2 to QB5, we'll say. You're getting a very good Deontay Johnson, a very good Michael Pittman, and then you have 3 probably going to be high draft picks in 2022 for sure. 2023 for sure, because they're getting rid of freaking everybody on their team. So very, very good for the person that got the stack here. That's no question. So trade number 2 here. It's just PPR Dynasty Superflex. Joe Burrow, Saquon Barkley, 2023 second, 2023 third, and another 2023 third for Josh Allen and Alvin Kamara.
Burrow, Barkley, and a bunch of middle picks for Allen and Kamara.
Yep.
That's interesting. Did you say what type of league this was again?
PPR Dynasty Superflex.
Oh, okay. I think it's close, but again, we talked about this before. I'll take the player and pick side. Again, not much of a drop off from Allen to Burrow. Saquon's younger than Kamara. Kamara's gonna be facing, and especially now knowing that Kamara's gonna be facing a suspension. I like Saquon as a bounce back guy this year, and then getting a few picks, where you can, have a chance of getting some quality players is always a good thing. So I will take that first side easy.
I agree. Like you said, the fall off between Burrow and Allen is not huge. Say Kamara was not facing the suspension. Does that change the opinion at all?
I mean, there's probably, Kamara's more talented than Barkley, I would say, but Barkley's also 2 years younger. I think he's going to have a little more, he's got more ahead of him in his career, on paper at least. Whereas Kamara is 27, he's approaching that age where he could tail off. So I take that, like we started talking about before, I take age into consideration, especially for a dynasty trade like this.
One more question. Do you think Barkley, because it's PPR, do you think Barkley is going to receive the kind of targets that Kamara usually receives?
I can see it, especially this year. The Giants have been lining up Barkley all over the place in training camp. They've been lining him up at wide out. They've been utilizing him in screen passes and all different ways for him to catch the ball. And they said that they've been wanting to do that more for him because he was brutally mismanaged by Jason Garrett the past couple seasons.
Oh, yeah, it's big time.
Dable and Mike Kafka want to get him way more involved than it has in the past.
That's good, man. We're looking at, Barkley was the greatest prospect, like since Adrian Peterson. So hopefully he's got all the talent in the world, man. You're probably looking at a top 2 talent-wise running back in Saquon Barkley. I think probably just Jonathan Taylor is the only one that kind of rivals him a little bit as far as talent goes. So hopefully they just use him and he explodes, man. I'm pulling for him. I think he's about to have a huge breakout year. So give me the Burrow Barkley side all day long. So then trade number 3 here. James Conner, Terry McLaurin, and the 1-1 this year for Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase.
Ooh.
This one's big. So it's pretty much James Conner, Terry McLaurin, and Breece Hall for Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase. Who you got?
Pitts and Chase.
I think I do too.
Because you're, depending on how you feel about Justin Jefferson, you're essentially getting the number 1 player in Dynasty at the wide receiver and tight end positions.
Yes.
And obviously Breece Hall is great, but we don't know how he's going to start out. Running back's going to be iffy. We don't know if he's going to split with Carter right away or not. Mm-hmm. Terry McLaurin, he's got, he's never been given a good quarterback, and he can be, a bit of a struggle on a week-to-week basis. And James Conner's, a nice RB right now, but he's getting a little older as well. And I like to err on age, and these guys are really young and already incredibly talented and put in good situations. Pitts just for volume, if nothing else, playing from behind a lot in Atlanta, and Jamar Chase is Jamar Chase. We saw what he and Burrow did last year, and that was just special.
Yeah, I kind of think that I am Hernandez is getting fleeced here a little bit. I mean, looking at it, it seems like a good deal, but then when you break it down, I mean, there's no other player in the league right now like Kyle Pitts. I mean, he's pretty much a wide receiver lining up as a tight end. And then Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver in the league right now. So, and he's got the Joe Burrow throwing it to him for his entire career if they want. So Connor has a lot of upside being the only running back in Arizona right now, but I still don't think this is a close trade. Give me Pitts and Chase all day long. So, but that will do it for us. Just want to take a quick minute here and mention the other podcast that's on that the Fantasy Coaches put on. Coach Steve runs it. They got a lot of good stuff on that podcast you guys want to check out. They had a special guest, Bob Long, last podcast that they did a couple days ago. If you guys don't know him, he's the one that does the Fantasy Football Expo. Kind of like a party after the draft week. It's like a week-long draft party. But he's got a lot of good knowledge, and they just had him on. So definitely check that out. And then our team article this week is current ADP values that we love. We're also working on the current ADP values that we're not so much in love with. So make sure you guys check that out and all the other good content that we have on that site. But that's all I got. Hope everybody has a good week. Stay safe.
We'll catch you next week, guys.